launching a project. I was involved in one of the years we did dance arias, it was called, and we picked classical music, classical arias from operas, and I was involved in teaching 2 groups in that. I think there was 8 or 9 groups at that point. I think it was our first year of Beata, and I was given 2 groups to workshop, and in one of the groups my mother was in it, and there was only 3 people in the group because we were trying to build, we had a new venue, it was a new project as well, and I said, Mum, you should come along, you know. So she came along, fair play, she stuck out, and we had 3 people in that group, and then I had another group, was 26 people. And what I realised, we're working with people that were older, you know, that had lived lives, had raised children, had worked and now maybe retired. They had this gorgeous history in the body. So, and the joy that I just felt from working with people like that, that's the absolute sheer joy, and the commitment, like it's such a commitment for them to do that. And I was really humbled by it. I was completely humbled by it, and because I didn't know how it was going to go. I thought, well, what do I do? I've never worked with older people before, so how do I do it? But actually, it was really nice, because once you got over the fact that actually it's all about the ability there and right now, and the history of the stories and the lives they led, I found it really interesting, really beautiful and humbling. And I started to think about working a little bit with my mother, maybe. It was just in the back of my head. I said, you know, we should do something together. Not thinking I'd ever do anything about it. And years later, I was asked to make a solo. Would I be interested in making a solo for myself for the Dublin Dance Festival? And I kind of shocked. This, you know, I never thought about making a solo for myself, and could I bear just being with myself in the studio or something? So I said, no, yes, I will make a solo for myself, but as long as I can put my mother on stage with me. And it was kind of a joke. Like, I kind of said it as a joke. And I thought this was really funny, and said, that's a brilliant idea. So that's basically how it came. And I thought, well, and I had this idea that the solo was going to be about an interview that was published in a newspaper where I was swimming when I was really young, before I could really talk or walk, and I was there was an article in the paper which was very funny about me being Ireland's youngest swimming hope. I know I was going to be the Olympic swimmer. And I was thinking about that, like, that's when I was 2, and I thought, now I'm a choreographer. Like, it's mad, you know. It's funny the way where your life takes you. And so I thought that's what the solo was going to be about. That, you know, there's no finding your pathway in life. It kind of hopefully will present itself, or you can excel or be lucky enough to do what you love doing. And I started to work my mother with that idea. And once I interviewed my mother, I got my mother interviewed, the 2 of us did 2 interviews. I got the interviews back, and I just thought, no, this is about her. And it's about what mothers pass down to their children, and about mothers having to let go of their children at some point as well, which is a difficult, you know, I'm sure it's a letting go of that baby and that child. And I thought this could be an interesting way forward, and how swimming kind of was passed down from my grandfather, who I never knew, and then my mother taught us to swim in exactly the same place, and then my sisters had their children, they taught their children to swim. And I thought it was really lovely about just this passing down of swimming. And also swimming being so rhythmical, you need to have rhythm, and you need to have coordination, and you need balance and focus, and it's exactly all the words that we would use for dance. I thought that this is actually kind of a perfect subject matter, that the idea of swimming and motherhood seem to go well together, and that's basically how it came about. And it wasn't the solo, it wasn't my mother sat there and I danced. She actually became the show, much to her own amusement. And it was great, because we did the show over 3 or 4 years, I think maybe 4, and it grew a lot, and we
travelled all over the world.
We travelled all over the world, and I think it just really spoke to people deep down, you know. So it was kind of that universal theme that we just captured, and again, my training or my work in the Bealtaine and the Broadreach project kind of allowed me gave me some skills and patience and all that, and it was hard. Like it wasn't easy, you know. And it was hard on my mother as well, you know, because it was, you know, she'd write all the choreography down. She had her own system, and she'd write it down. She'd go over, and she'd be going home on the bus reading, and then God love her, I'd come in and say, we're changing all that because I'd work the next day, and she never lets me live that down. That just as she would learn it, I'd change it. And I'd go, no, I'm not changing it, I'm developing it. Yeah. But, you know, it's hard to do that. So there are things that obviously you have to think about. And, you know, memory is a big thing, you know, and that's fine. We all have that problem. So, but actually it's interesting, muscle memory has a really interesting thing when muscle memory kicks in. And it's not memory, it's that muscle memory. It's a lovely thing that even my mother was saying, oh, I remember it all, because she could remember it in her muscles,
body, yeah.
in her body, and it was a lovely. I remember that moment. She was just so proud, or she just had that. She really had got there, you know. I thought that was great, and that was great because we could do it over 4 years, so we could develop it, and the movement went more deeper into our bodies, and we were able to work on it. And the last 3 performances we did in New Jersey were really beautiful. Actually, they were quite stunning, and I thought, well, if we never get to do it again, at least we finished on 3 really special performances. So. Doing the film and the stage piece together, I mean, they were very different anyway, and I knew that they were different, and I knew there were 2 different kind of pieces, as it were. But actually moving in the water helped us move on land, because we could just go back to the way that the movement was in the body, because you move very differently in water, obviously, and it's much slower, and there's the volume of the water, and the balance is different, and your flotation is different. So actually that in our bodies on land helped in a way. And what I was trying to work with was, I remember being taught swimming, and I remember the swimming teachers, you know, in the air pulling down on the arms, and the way they demonstrate as if they were in water. And I remember thinking how beautiful it was, like when you got somebody really good at it, because you really saw the water. So we were playing with that idea as well. So it helped. I suppose they both fed each other, but the film was really difficult, and choreographing underwater is so hard. I actually drew it. I drew the whole thing, which I still have, and it's this great stickman, and I drew stickman. But it's interesting. And then I edited some of it because it was too long. We had worked out it was too long before we shot it, so I had to take some out, so I just cut and paste some movement, and then went back in and rehearsed it again, because that was how I put it together, or how I could put it together, really. So it wasn't that we just got in and said, well, let's play with that idea. We actually had choreography there, which was, you know, great to have that. And then, you know, you get underwater and things happen, you know, different things happen. Playing with the weight, falling, for example. Like, that was a great discovery I had, because I was working the water a lot, and then one day I went, no, if I just fall, it's beautiful, that moment of falling, and the water determined the movement. I thought, oh, that's nice, I like that idea. Or I would go in with different characters in my head, Chaplin, or, you know, Nureyev, or like just I put any dancer in my head, or movement person that I recognised, or theme, and then could go down and basically hold my breath and try and choreograph around it and video it, and then come back up and say, oh, that's good, that's not so good, drop that. But then in the edit, the film had another sequence to it that was on land, which we cut basically. So it's kind of interesting that even in the edit we cut. So when I saw the edit, they went on to the epilogue of the film, and they just looked at me and said nothing, and I said, the film has to end there. And I said, thank God you said that, because that's where we think it should end. It should end in the water. Well, yeah, it should end in the water when you've been hair pulled out, you know. And again, that's kind of like back to, that is a life-saving move, the last move in the film. I don't know if you remember, it's to get pulled by the hair.
It's also a very mammy kind of thing.
That's right. It's very mammy. And I was thinking of kittens, and you know the way cats wouldn't pull you up. So it's interesting the reaction that gets when it's shown in public. You know, a lot of people recognise that kind of get up. You know.
Yeah. So. How's that process for your mum then? The filming and the water?
I think she thought she was just going to be swimming up and down. I mean, I was going to be doing everything else, and I said, no, you're not. And actually, the little choreographic thing in that is that we wanted to be in the middle of the water, and I realised that my mum floats a lot, where I'll sink. She floats, and so we had to literally get her to go down to a certain point. So she hadn't been down in that part of the pool or the water for many years, so it was even a new kind of challenge to her to actually get her down. So we had to do a lot of weight stuff where we were pulling and shifting, which hopefully you don't see, because that's, you know, that was part of the choreography, and I think that's why I needed to choreograph it, so I knew how to build up the technique of that. It was great though. I mean, you know, and it's great to have it, and again, it's a film that can travel, and you know, we don't have to remember it's there, you know, it's a joy that way.